Welcome, and thank you for listening in on my micro teaching assignment. Today's topic and lesson is on the theory of moral development. By the end of today's lesson, you should have a better understanding of moral development as well as gain some practical applications of moral development theory. So to start, you need to understand what the theory of moral development is. So the theory of moral development was actually originally created by Jean Piaget, but was further developed by Lawrence Kohlberg because he had some questions that he wanted to dive further into that Jean Piaget didn't actually get into in his study. When Kohlberg decided to dive a little deeper into Piaget's study, he focused specifically on situational moral dilemmas. In this, he came up with multiple dilemmas and asked people that he was studying to analyze them. In his study, the most well-known dilemma to come out of it is the Heinz dilemma. So the Heinz dilemma poses a theoretical situation in which a man, Heinz, wife is sick with an incurable disease. However, it turns out that a local chemist has developed a medicine that could cure her. The chemist is willing to sell the medicine, but at a price that Heinz can't afford even after raising half of the money that he needs. When Heinz goes to the chemist and offers to pay him the rest later, the chemist denies him and Heinz steals the medicine from the chemist's home. In this dilemma, Kohlberg asks his audience a series of questions. 1. Should Heinz have actually stolen the drug? Was it morally right to do this? 2. Would it change anything if Heinz didn't love his wife? 3. What if the person dying was a stranger? Would that make any difference? And 4. Should the police arrest the chemist for murder if the woman actually died? Now, when Kohlberg posed this dilemma, in his study, he wasn't focused on whether people deemed the actions right or wrong. What Kohlberg was looking for was what their reasons were. Why did they believe that one action was more right than another? With those questions in mind, it's important to know what Kohlberg learned from the study. Now, Kohlberg focused on 72 boys, all of them based in Chicago and ranging in ages from 10 to 16 years of age. 58 of those 72 boys followed up with Kohlberg every 3 years for 20 years. In that time, they would sit down with Kohlberg and have 2-hour interviews where they were expected to answer a series of questions that went along with 10 separate dilemmas. Each of these dilemmas were hypothetical situations. And what Kohlberg found was that people fell into different stages of moral development at different points in their lives. The first stage that Kohlberg noted in moral development theory is the pre-conventional morality stage. This stage affects children 9 years and younger. And in this situation, morality hasn't really developed and doesn't really exist at this point. This stage is broken into 2 sub-stages. In stage 1, you have obedience and punishment orientation. So, for example, a child may ask themselves, if I hit my brother, what will be the outcome before doing something? If they associate bad actions with a punishment, children are more likely to avoid it, and that is their form of morality at that time. Stage 2, though, is individualism and exchange. This means that while children may still follow the obedience and punishment orientation, they now are able to recognize that different individuals have different viewpoints, and not every person is going to agree or disagree with one another. Stage 2 in Kohlberg's theory of moral development is conventional morality. Conventional morality affects adolescents and young adults. This is a time in which authority is recognized and internalized, but not questioned, and much of this age group's reasoning is based on group norms. There are two substages to the conventional morality stage. The first one being good interpersonal relationships. In this situation, a child is good so that they are viewed as a good person. We often see this in middle school years when a student wants to please an adult so that they are viewed more as a good student. And then as they begin to get older, they recognize the maintaining of social order. So they become more aware of the wider scope of society. At this stage, people are beginning to really internalize and understand the implications of their actions through a societal scope. They worry about the judgment of their peers and the people around them, and they focus on trying to be the best version of themselves that they can put forward. Now, the third and final stage of Kohlberg's theory of moral development is the post-conventional morality stage. This stage affects adults specifically, and Kohlberg actually didn't believe many people hit the final substage of the post-conventional morality stage. In this stage, there is the social contract and individual rights substage. In this area, issues aren't clear-cut. There is no easy answer. For example, if we use the Heinz dilemma, is it morally right to steal medicine for Heinz's wife, even though the chemist created it and deserves to be paid for it? On the other side, is it okay for the chemist to hold on to the medicine and therefore Heinz's wife dies? In this substage, issues become murky and they have to have specific reasoning and specific guides in order to get to this point. The final substage is the universal principles substage. In this situation, people have grown and developed their own set of moral guidelines. Now, Kohlberg did not believe many people actually ever hit this stage. In this stage, it means that people are willing to fight for what they believe in. But to do more than just argue it, they're willing to go out and actually be imprisoned or, for example, find disapproval within society because they supported a particular idea. Finally, you can apply Kohlberg's theory of moral development in a couple of ways. So if your students are in stage 1, which is early elementary, you can create a code of conduct so your students have clear consequences for their behavior. Some punishments can include loss of privileges and free time. At stage 2, teachers can encourage class activities in which students should cooperate with each other. For example, games that require students to assist one another are often useful in teaching cooperation with students. And at stage 3, you can help develop students' moral character in a variety of choice activities. One, however, that is hugely useful is having students create their own classroom code. Now, this isn't quite the same as a code of conduct, but it's kind of like them setting up their own form of expectations. In this situation, students would be expected to oversee these classroom expectations and adhere and essentially make a point to follow them as if a teacher had made them.